and let us all do we can to build a better future. So Biden can't speak to people, and the media realizes that they can't cover for him anymore. The media realizes that their shield wall can't hold against the pressure. We're starting to break them. But before we pull up that video, I think it's important to address something that could have been overlooked from the New Hampshire primary, and that is people who are writing in ceasefire. That's right, people writing in ceasefire. Now, yes, a lot of Democrat voters did write in Joe Biden's name. New Hampshire, I expected more out of you. But ceasefire also gained some attention because a lot of people are interrupting Biden's speeches by saying, hey, ceasefire in Gaza. Because after all, 25,000 people and ongoing are dead. So let's play this video here.
Neither Trump nor Biden are speaking to you.
No, that's really it for me.
Mr. Biden, not on the ballot today, but can be listed as a write-in candidate.
Did you write in President Biden's name today, or did you vote for somebody else? Okay, go for it. Tell me who.
I wrote in ceasefire tonight.
Ceasefire. There's a campaign to write in ceasefire in support of the ceasefire in Gaza. Did you all write in ceasefire?
I did.
Yeah, good. Good for all of you.
Like 72% of young voters nationwide, many students we met disapprove of how President Biden is handling the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. What is it about Biden that's got young Democrats looking elsewhere?
Mostly his age and his foreign policy. We just want somebody younger and new.
And while Democrats aren't questioning if Mr. Biden will be the party's nominee, the young voters we met are issuing a warning about November.
I'm not happy with Biden's term in office. He's filled out a lot of empty campaign promises.
Indeed, NBC's latest national poll among voters shows President Biden trailing former President Trump. We also rode this bus during 2016's admittedly more competitive primary, encountering a far more enthusiastic crowd.
Anybody else on the bus vote for Bernie?
Oh, remember that? Remember the time people were enthusiastic about Bernie Sanders? Oh, what an innocent era. So blinded.
But today,
Is there a lack of enthusiasm amongst young people about this race?
I guess so. I mean, I've talked to some other kids. They're not really into it.
Exactly. No one is. Why? Because Biden's struggling to speak. Everybody sees it. Everybody knows it. Everybody's talking about it. Who can be happy and excited for an old man that doesn't know where he's at? I've seen it before. When old people start losing track of thought. When old people don't know where they're at. Biden is 81 years old. He has no business sitting on the throne. He should be a one-term president. And if the Democrats are smart, they'll pick somebody else. But at this point, it's almost too little too late. Good luck, Democrats. Maybe you want to lose on purpose. If that's the case, enjoy it.
But, during his speech, you're going to hear from the president. You're going to hear from CNN's Van Jones. You're going to also hear Democrats caught on a hot mic. Watch this.
Don't mess with the men in America unless you want to get the benefit.
What are you saying?
You're going to hear from the president. You're going to hear from CNN's Van Jones. You're going to also hear Democrats caught on a hot mic. Watch this.
Don't mess with the men in America unless you want to get the benefit.
That was interesting. So I guess that's the way it's going to be. That's going to happen constantly. Yep. They're going to have to have a lot more security laid out around the place. Oh, yeah.
If I were Biden, I would stay hidden. And I'll tell you why. He doesn't inspire confidence. And he's not a great messenger for himself. There's something wrong with this campaign where we're somehow expecting Joe Biden, who frankly hid during the last campaign, to come out now and be Flash Gordon and say that this is his own campaign. Part of what we're looking at as Trump's strength, his resilience, is really a reflection of Biden's fragility. Republicans are not afraid of Joe Biden. They're not afraid. They don't think that by putting up somebody this damaged, frankly, this deranged, with this many deficits, is going to hurt them at all.
Okay, Caroline, let's just take it from the top. We think the president said.
So it's interesting Van Jones was saying that, especially knowing the fact that mainstream media like BSDNC, I mean MSNBC and CNN, are saying that the economy is doing great and that Biden has a lot of enthusiasm around him. Enthusiasm. Almost kind of want to make you grab a baseball bat and club somebody upside the head. break it in until they realize, like, hey, quit being stupid and supporting the Democrats. You see, what's being revealed to the American people, and at least hopefully to the diehard vote blue no matter who, and I'm speaking to you guys directly, vote blue no matter who, your old dog doesn't have any bite left in him. He stutters, he stammers, he doesn't know where he's going half the time. And all of our progressive heavyweights, from Bernie Sanders to AOC, were the first ones in line to endorse him. And this primary, if you want to call it one, is nothing more than one big distraction. I'll give RFK Jr. credit for this. At least when he read the room, he dropped out and became an independent, which is fine. Whatever. Not a fan of some of his policy issues or who he associates with, but okay, he made the big decision and left the Democratic primary because the party's rigged. Democrat voters, how can you expect people to automatically fall in line when all what you've done in your past primaries, especially in 2016 and 2020, you bullied people around, you pushed them around. The primaries were clearly rigged in favor to help out the establishment candidate, Hillary Clinton in 2016 and Joe Biden in 2020. And Bernie Sanders, being the nutless wonder that he is, abandoned his own followers. That's what happened to you. If you were a diehard Bernie Sanders supporter or donor, if you donated to his campaign in 2016 and in 2020, hell, you should be screaming from the rooftop, I want my money back, because the man didn't fight for you. He was able to get himself some nice lucrative book deals and get his name in the papers and, hey, speak at large amounts of crowds, but he was never going to follow through with the final fight. I know a lot of us were excited about Bernie Sanders' message, but at the end of the day, he went with Hillary Clinton and he went with Joe Biden. He didn't stand with the supporters and volunteers. I'll never forget Philly. In Philadelphia, where I saw firsthand delegates and volunteers and supporters of Bernie Sanders being assaulted, harassed. They were speaking to me about how they were being assaulted and harassed, how they were being threatened, how they were being doxxed, how they were being followed, how they were getting suspicious phone calls at night, threatening messages. That's what happened in Philly, Bernie, to your people. And what did you do? You abandoned them. And in 2020, you were quick to abandon them again after that infamous phone call in South Carolina. He didn't fight. And what we got was Joe Biden, the Democrats' last desperate attempt to try and remake the epic disaster of 2016 go away. But in their rush to go with somebody like Joe Biden, they didn't really think overall how people would feel or react to an old man deteriorating before our very eyes. And he's supposed to be the leader of the free world. Can he put together a coherent statement? Can he really debate? Because as it stands right now, it doesn't look like there's going to be a debate happening between the respected candidates once the primaries are over. I don't see a debate happening between Trump and Biden. How can it happen? The Democrats won't even allow a debate for the primaries. The Democrats control every time Biden goes on stage, and a lot of those protesters are going to be showing up as the war continues on. Remember, Benjamin Netanyahu said that the war is going to continue on until 2025, and the death toll is now rising past 25,000. We're going to probably get 50K very soon. God forbid we get to 100K. You think people are going to sit idly by as women and children are starving to death, not only in Gaza, but the fact that we got not one, but two other wars, Ukraine, Yemen, happening as well? But let's talk about starvation. How's Biden going to comment on the fact that you have Americans starving? You have Americans skipping meals. You have Americans choosing whether or not to pay their bills or buy their medicine. You have Americans wondering if they should put gas in their car or pay off the mortgage. You have Americans wondering if they should pay off the rent or, oh no, they got a hospital emergency. Do they pay the hospital bill? There's so much being thrown at the American people. And the number one issue is going to be the economy. But according to Biden and corporate media and the administration and all those associated with the Democratic Party, the economy is doing great. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. How's the economy treating you? Type 1 for it's great. It's great. 3 square meals a day. Type 2, no, it's not. And every day that passes, I wonder how I'm going to survive. Let's continue on with the rest of this video from Case Study QB, who's wrongly being censored.
Don't mess with the women of America unless you want to get the benefit. That sentence, unfortunately, still does not make sense. The Democrats caught on a hot mic, Caroline, were saying this is the way it's going to happen constantly. They're going to have a lot more security laid down around the place because of the hecklers and protesters. Doesn't feel good for the race right now for the White House.
all of those clips demonstrate that Biden isn't winning with moderates. He's not winning with the far left flank, the rabid progressives that want us to completely withdraw support for Israel. He's not winning.
Listen, did you ever stop to consider that maybe people just don't want to see a genocide take place? Because that's what's happening. People are dying, women and children. Those artillery shells are blowing up everyone and everything. Journalists are dying. Doctors are dying. Regular folks are dying. People are dying. Did you ever stop to consider that? Come on, Fox News. You sound no better than those liberals when Trump was saying about the war in Ukraine, I want people to stop dying. Is that a bridge too far for everybody in the establishment? People dying, that's a controversial statement. That's more worse than a profanity. That's more worse than murder. You want people to stop dying?
With the old school Democrats, he's really not winning at all, partly because he's too incoherent to really conduct himself as a president should. He's clearly mentally deteriorating to the point of no return. But he's not winning on the issues. His national pitch is not very compelling to most Americans who are simply struggling with economic hardships. And now the border crisis is flooding into their communities. So, Biden, it's just not winning.
Of course it's not winning. We all see that. We all see it firsthand. I want to pull up this video here. It's from our friends in corporate media from BSDNC.
Something we saw yesterday when Joe Biden was there the first time in this campaign, Betsy, that he was side by side with the vice president and each of their spouses. They were focused on reproductive rights. Giant words said "Restore Roe" over their shoulders. But frankly, for anybody watching, myself included, he was interrupted more than 13 times by protesters there. And it did sort of reveal within the Democratic Party, frankly, some of the real challenges that Joe Biden faces right now, certainly among the young voters, among progressives as well. 13 times he was interrupted, just another interruption that took place during his event with the UAW today.
Yeah, it's a real sense of source of softness within his Democratic activist base. Of course, the vice president has worked overtime to try to shore up that wing of the party.
Oh, yeah. Throw out Kamala, cackling Kamala. That's the trick. That's what's going to save the Democratic Party. Kamala Harris, whose approval rating is even lower than Biden. The fact that she has such a low approval rating over Biden says a lot about her character. Remember, this is the same lady who would laugh about sending parents to jail if their kids missed a day of school. The same person, Kamala Harris, who was against, helping out prisoner firefighters actually become firefighters, Same Kamala Harris who withheld evidence, stopping a guy from being murdered on death row or really being killed on death row because he was innocent. Never forget when Tulsi Gabbard destroyed her on the debate stage in 2020. Not once, but twice. Pure gold. Kamala Harris. That's what's going to save the day. Hey, let's have democracy in the chat. You think Kamala's going to save the sinking ship? Type 3 for yes, Kit. She's strong. She's independent. She's a girl boss. You are an awful, horrible man. How dare you, Kit Cabello? Shame on you. A type 4 man, dude, she's going to cause more damage. It's going to be priceless. Can she even put together a decent sentence too? That's another poll question. Who's better at pulling together a more coherent sentence and less of a word salad? Type 5 for Kamala? Type 6 for Joe Biden? Wonder how many 4s and 6s we might get in the chat. I wonder.
The more progressive wing that the president just hasn't always had on lock for much of his career. But the fact that he can barely do an event that's open to the public without getting heckled or, addressed, shall we say, on this issue. One thing that just highlights is how unpredictable these election cycles can be. It takes one day of violence followed by a war breaking out that nobody in the U.S. would have predicted, certainly not in the U.S. intelligence community. And it dramatically, or thus far appears to dramatically be shaking some of the political dynamics in ways people hadn't expected. It's a long time till November, and that's part of the reason that these cycles are always just weirder than you might think.
Oh, yes, they're weird. I'll tell you why they're weird. It's because people are waking up. It's not weird. It's people are waking up. People are tired. I'm tired. I'm done with the fear. I need to be afraid of Trump. Well, too bad. I'm not afraid of Trump. Oh, I need to condemn those protesters for calling out Biden. No, that's their constitutional right, their First Amendment. They have that right to call out Biden. They have that right to call out any other politician. To hell with these bastard politicians. But what? Oh, because it's now 2024, Trump's running for office. He not won, but he didn't only win one primary, but he won 2 primaries, Iowa and New Hampshire, and I need to be afraid? No. It's a foregone conclusion. Trump's going to win the Republican primary. It's not my fault that the vote blue no matter who sheep decide to listen to their Democrat overlords and tell them to support an old man who doesn't know his wazoo from a hole in the ground, trying to keep it clean here. It's not my fault that that's your dog. You have an old dog in the fight. It's not my fight. It's not my concern. And I encourage my audience to be free thinkers. I encourage all of you to make your own decision. And if you choose to vote Democrat or Republican, hey, that's your choice too. I'm not going to stop you. It's your right to decide to vote how you want to vote. The purpose of here, Hard Lens Media, is to break down what we see here in corporate media, what we see from the establishment, give our commentary and analysis, and for all of you to make your own decision. But for me, my decision is abundantly clear. The Democrats are not going to get my vote. I'm not going to waste my time voting for a party that's using fear and bullying. That's going to say that I got to be afraid of Donald Trump. I got more things to worry about than Donald Trump. I have bigger fish to fry. I don't care who becomes president of the United States. Electoral politics has been beaten out of me at this point. Well done, Democrats. You did that to your own voting base. Well done, Bernie Sanders. You abandoned your own political movement. Trump kept his political movement together, but you went all in with the Democratic establishment, Bernie and progressives, for Joe Biden, in which you got nothing in return. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. So you're wondering why people aren't excited anymore? Because we got nothing. No promises, no follow-through, nothing. Nothing to energize us. So why should we be engaged in a system that's going to fall apart? The one thing I'm grateful for is that we didn't see Bernie Sanders run again for a third time. I'm very grateful to see that we didn't see that, because it'll be a third time. Like, okay, again, if people want to fall for a tic-tac-toe 3 in a row, people are foolish. That's the one thing I'm grateful for. I'm grateful that the Democratic primary is lackluster. I'm grateful for the fact that we are seeing just how much of an obedient sheep the Democratic voter is, especially in New Hampshire. You write in Joe Biden's name, you're not going to be represented here in Chicago. How many other voters are going to wake up pretty soon knowing that Biden can't help you? It's beyond pathetic. But I find it to be outstanding that the Democrats are sinking and that the corporate media, their shield wall is breaking. Everybody sees it. And Heartland's media has been talking about it for years now. It's good that they finally caught up.